Hello, this is Starshot here to welcome you back to my Let's Play of Ys Origin. We last left off pretty much introducing to the story and kind of my plans for the game and playing through it and all, as well as short tutorial and fighting a few monsters here and there. I decided to restart my playthrough because my SP was like apparently being added to from previous playthroughs, so I had a lot more SP than I would at the start, and I'd rather not be tempted by it. So I just simply started over this first section and came back to this section here. So you haven't missed anything quite yet. But let's go ahead and search through the our first floor here to see what we can find. So, throughout most of the game, you'll pretty much be facing these different creatures or demons, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, as well as different item drops that they may give you, as well as pots with health ups. So, this is definitely one of the games where you don't normally have ways to heal yourself outside of the statues that we are introduced to, as well as specific items that might drop from enemies or pots. So definitely, do your best to keep your health up as much as possible, because you will face difficult enemies, as well as enemies that can do damage to you quickly. Like, there's no stun or invincibility frames when you get hit. And we did just get an item here. This raises our max HP, so let's go ahead and just use it, because there's no reason not to at this point. Like, as you saw there, you do get a little bit of a bump, but if the enemy attacks multiple times with whatever attack he has, then you'll take all the damage without any invincibility frames at all. So that's one of the first things you have to get used to when it comes to this game. In a way, that's sort of part of how the challenge for this game works. But thankfully, if you do gain enough XP, then you will heal up fully, as well as gain the appropriate stats. But yeah, most of these first enemies you'll encounter aren't too difficult to deal with, so they shouldn't hopefully pose any problems, even if you are playing on hard mode. And yet, we just discovered an artifact of Ys. Well, because it's a holy artifact that's powerful, maybe? Of course, I don't really understand the flabellum. Sounds like sounds like an evil whip or something. Oh, cool, we now have the whirlwind skill. We'll definitely be using this quite a bit, because it does help in flying or traveling platforming. Yep, and Unica can use it even if she doesn't, cast magic normally. So it's a nice little attack for us to use, and it'll come in handy as we progress through the game here. But yeah, I guess, I'm trying to remember, I'm pretty sure I told the story of how I first, or no, maybe I haven't yet, but I guess I'll just do so now, and if you've heard the story before, then I'll just refresh it for people. I wasn't first introduced to this game by, a friend or, you know, a or a commercial or anything like that. The Ys series is something I actually discovered thanks to a magazine. Funny enough, a PlayStation magazine. I had I forget what the trip was for, but I was in the airport waiting for, or picking up, trying to find something to read for the plane. And it was always a tradition of mine to find a gaming magazine that I could read. Because at the time, you weren't really allowed to use your phone or, you know, look up for the internet or have Wi-Fi or anything like that most of the time. So this was several years ago. And so I wanted to read something, and I found this PlayStation magazine that I thought would be interesting. And weirdly enough, it came with a demo disc. It came with a demo of a bunch of games on it that you could play. And, you know, I couldn't play it right away, of course, because this was when I was going to my destination, and I didn't have my PS2 to play on it. But, okay, here we go. We've just encountered a trap here, which we can't do anything about, sadly. So, we get teleported to this area here. And yeah, it's a different room entirely, and it's kind of annoying, but we'll have to find our way back to that area. But first, we at least unlock this place. Our first statue, so we can come back here and heal and all that and save when we want to. So, continuing with my story, so after I finally got back home and decided, hey, why not I give this disc a try and see what games are on it. So, I looked through the list. Funny enough, I can't remember what any of the other games were at the time. But I remember distinctly Ys 6, The Ark of Nibishtim. Now, I'd never heard of this series before, but supposedly, it was an action RPG, so I thought, hey, this looks kind of cool, why don't I give it a try? And so, I booted it up, played through the game, and I was very, very enthralled with the game. I just saw it. It's like, hey, this is really cool. The fighting, the monsters, the difficulty. The demo pretty much convinced me, hey, I want to really play this game. Where can I find it? And so, I did actually find the game at a GameStop, I believe. And I think at the time, it was only 20 bucks. I think the game had been out for a while. But, I never saw it or thought about it for whatever reason, I forget. So, but pretty much it was thanks to that magazine demo disc in PlayStation Magazine that got me to try Ys Ark of Nibishtim for the first time, which apparently was the 6th one in the franchise. So it's kind of like, wait, this is the 6th one? So where's 1 through 5 then? Where are those games? And so after I finally started doing some research and discovering that, this was the first one to come to the US, and that, as far as I knew, and that a lot of the other ones were pretty much either on older consoles or were pretty much never released outside the US. So I was pretty bummed, but it pretty much made it so that I always kept an eye out for any Ys games after that. And that's pretty much how I got into the Ys series. I did eventually find Ys 1 and 2, and was able to play that first on my DS. And Ys 1 and 2 was alright, but it definitely wasn't as good as when I played Ark of Nibishtim. But I still really enjoyed the game for what it was, and, still played it through from, start to finish. I actually remember I got it from a friend when we visited a GameStop one day, is how I got the DS version of Ys 1 and 2. And it even came with the music disc, which was awesome. Or no, actually, it didn't actually come with the disc, or the music CD. but the person who had actually traded it in was an employee at that GameStop. And he actually decided, hey, just come back in and I'll give it to you. You know, and so of course I came back later and picked it up, and I was, it was really awesome because the music in the Ys series has always been top notch. And so whenever I had the chance to get the soundtrack, I always made sure I got it. But that's pretty much how I started. Like, I just kept searching out for them. Eventually, Oath of Felghana, the third one in the series apparently, came to the PSP. And then, let's see, and then Ys 7 also came out on the PSP as well. So I pretty much got a PSP around the time when Ys 7, Oath of Felghana, and a few other games came out as well. And that's also how I discovered the Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel. And, because I saw, hey, it's made by the same guys who made Ys, so... Oh, crap. I didn't realize I was taking so much damage. But yeah, pretty much, if you die, then you get sent right back to the area where you got the save point, so... That's nice at least, but I need to try and avoid that in the future if possible. And of course, like, thankfully they do have the checkpoints, so it's not as punishing when you die. If they did, then this game would probably not be as good as it is. Like, there are very few issues I have with this game. Other than just maybe the combat sometimes can be a bit repetitive, but they do have a good selection enough of monsters. Of course, it is like a lot of either you cast your magic or you just press your weapon to attack, but because everything's fairly quick and the enemies are moving most of the time, so you do have to keep an eye out for them. It's pretty much fun. In my opinion, at least. And that hopefully, anyone who sees my Let's Play here will be interested in picking up and playing the game themselves. Like, getting the Ys games now is fairly easy compared to when I first was getting them when I was growing up, since a lot of them were initially for just portable systems. Like, Ys never came to a console, at least a newer console, because apparently it did supposedly show up on the Super Nintendo or Nintendo Entertainment System, I believe, and even some of the older computer systems. But those are like the really, really early iterations of the game, and the ones I pretty much grew up with were the remakes and remasters of the games. So, pretty much, getting the Ys games now is fairly simple, because they're all on PC. Ys Origins, Ys 1 and 2, Ys the Oath of Felghana, Ys Memories of Celceta is eventually coming out to the PC, if not already. Ys, Ys Ark of Nibishtam, even Ys 7 is also here on PC, and Ys 8 is also here on as well. So the only one that's actually missing right now would be Ys 5, which I believe is called like Mask of the Sun, and came out a long time ago, and they've never done a remaster or remake for that one. So I'm not sure if they ever will. They might, just because it's the last one. And I'm sure if people really want it, they get enough demand for it, who knows. But I do hope that does happen. But, for now we can just be happy that we can pretty much get to play Ys 1 through 8, minus 5. And, like, most of them, like most of the older ones, you can pick up for almost $20, most of them are right now. And then the newer ones are at least maybe 40 to 60. Like, I know Ys 8 is 60, but I think Ys 7 is 40, Ys 6, I think might be only 30 or 20. So there's really, they've pretty much given many people the chance to play these games again. And so it shouldn't be too hard to pick up if you ever get the chance. Oh yeah, I haven't done anything to upgrade my equipment yet, even though I'm not sure how much of a difference it actually makes. But yeah, so yeah, so for the most part, there shouldn't be anything stopping anyone from playing this game series and discovering just how great it is. Or at least in my opinion, it is really. I do feel it's a very solid action game with good mechanics, good story, great music, and so if you don't have anything better to play while you're waiting for Smash Brothers or Bayonetta or Devil May Cry 5, whatever games you're hoping to check out or play while you're waiting for it to happen, just remember Ys is around to fill that void for anyone who hasn't discovered it already. And that it looks like, for the most part, they'll be continuing the series, I believe, because Adol has plenty of fun adventures to be had, as well as his ancestors, and who knows kind of what else they could do. Like, they're very open to kind of doing what they want with the series and not sticking to an always defined formula, even if that's kind of the way they've gone about it for the most part. And I guess now I should probably go down these stairs here to continue exploring and figuring out what I need to do or where I need to go next to finally get out of this area. And then of course the dungeons are fairly well done as well. Like, the levels are varied and interesting. Like, I know there are some RPGs I've played out there that I feel you can easily get lost in the dungeons because they all look the same. Like, the layout and how the textures are very similar to each other. So, and for the most part, I don't find that much of an issue with Ys here, at least. Like, I have a pretty good idea of where I've been and where I can go and where I haven't explored yet, which can be a problem for some games. I'm never quite sure if it really is poor level design or just a shine of the inspiration that game has taken, or just lazy design, maybe. Who knows? I try not to, I try to just see it as it is and do my best with it. Because you never know how much of it is the designer's fault, how much of it is just the publishers having their say about something, even though it's unlikely they would have much say about the levels. And then, of course, making sure that everything runs smoothly, because it could be more complicated level designs, could take up a lot more memory and be harder for people to develop or use if they wanted. Let me go ahead and pick this up, and of course we have this little jump pad here that we got to use. There we go. So now we have an emerald. This little thing will increase our skill's power. So now, for example, I can charge it and do this move here. But now we finally have that gate open over on this other side here. Let's see. Actually, that leads into a boss area, if I recall. So let me go ahead and get to a save point first. Or actually, there's usually a save point right before. So I should be fine in just going over here, actually. And I should be a high enough level as well that I shouldn't have to worry about being overpowered by the enemy. Oh no, never mind. This wasn't leading to a boss, actually. This just leads to a treasure chest. Here we go. Now we finally have our key of getting out of here. And then a mysterious voice talks to us in text that we can't understand. And apparently it came from this cute little creature that looks like a cross between a rabbit and maybe a kangaroo? Or something? Apparently this is a roo. Very simple name, I guess. Yes, apparently they are still adorable, aren't they? Even if they are somehow demons. I'm not even sure what constitutes for a demon sometimes when they call them that. And he's still talking to us and we can't understand him. You and me both, Unica. You could start pantomiming. Yeah, I don't know if you get anything from, like, if previous playthroughs, if you get something that allows you to see what he was actually saying before, or if there's a cheat code or something. I know there's something, but I forget what it was. But I know, like, I always find it weird when some developers decide to put in text that you can't understand right away, but they still give you the option to find it out because of subsequent playthroughs or something like that. Oh, apparently the Roo's hungry. We're guessing that's it, even though we can't still understand you, Mr. Roo. But apparently we're correct, and he understands us just fine. And yeah, I'll give you the Rhoda fruit. Why not? I'm always a nice guy. He's apparently happy that we gave him the fruit, and I'm guessing thankful. And he gave us some ore, apparently. Which automatically leveled up our weapon, apparently. Yeah, who knew little Roos were also blacksmiths? And just happened to carry ore around with them. But with that out of the way, and now we have our strengthened axe, we can move on here and head towards the save room where we were before, because if we go up the stairs there, then we'll be able to pick up the, or use the key we just got to escape this level here and get back to where that trap was. And hopefully be able to disarm it when we get the chance. After we figure out how we can disarm it. Or not get pulled in like we were before. But yeah, and like, I guess, yeah, I praised it for its music, I praised it for its story and gameplay. And as you can see, the graphics are fairly nice. Like, everything's distinctive, you can tell who's who. I think the wardrobe, like her clothes, are fairly interesting and intricate. And of course, I'm not quite sure what kind of, like, I'm not sure of the culture it belongs to, if it does belong to a specific culture or not with her style. But I do feel it's at least unique, something I haven't normally seen before in these fantasy-like settings. And that she's also not wearing just a breastplate and a piece of metal bikini something. You know, just that old little thing about how when apparently it came to women wearing less clothing meant more power. Of course, that it wasn't like that for all of them, of course, but that's just sort of one of those weird little tropes that some people noticed every now and then. But I think that's about all the time we have for today, so join us next time as we continue through the stage here and finally get our way out, and hopefully find a way to disable that trap that put us here in the first place. So, until next time, have fun gaming.